Можемо починати.
We may start. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Today we hold a joint event of democratic initiatives. And you know about this organization and also Electoral Council and UA. And we have 4 representatives of this body here. This was a union, non-political, non-partisan union that was created during elections, and the idea was to transfer the discussion from overall slogans and words to speak about proper thematic blocks. And only one meeting was held with a real candidate for presidency at the second round, and it was Poroshenko. He wanted to show that he differs from Zelensky, and time was lacking. Zelensky team said, and we will meet you after elections, they said. And then our activity was more clear and constructive. We organized a series of roundtables with representatives of the main political parties, and everyone participated except, guess please? No. The servant of the people, we put plus on them. We didn't have an opposition platform for life. They ignored us. And we provided the materials of our meetings, and we did it in order to show the positions of the political parties and in order that we'll be able to assess the activity after elections, whether they implement what they promised. Our council continued to work, and we will have local elections. We do not know about the time. Maybe it will be in March, because administrative and territorial reform should be completed before this. Now we present results of national survey and also expert survey concerning 100 days of Zelensky presidency. I give the floor to Iryna Bekeshkina, director of Ilko, Kucheriv Democratic Initiatives Foundation, and Iryna is on the 77th place of the most important people in Ukraine. So this was made by Focus news outlet. Someone from the servant of people, they said that this news outlet supports Poroshenko, but everyone can have their own opinion. So this is not about my opinion, this is about the opinion of the people, our citizens. So this is an international tradition, and in Ukraine to speak about first 100 days of presidency. We spoke about Yushchenko, Yanukovych, Poroshenko, and today we have 100 days of newly elected president in office, and that's why we are holding this event. How our citizens assess his activity. You have press releases. We have a lot of information there. This is about assessment of Zelensky's activity and a lot of information about the electoral campaign. And you may see how this electoral campaign, both presidential and parliamentary, differed from previous ones. And I would like to speak about the main points, the most interesting ones. If we're speaking about presidential elections, the result was a surprise. We could not anticipate it. When we ask people about the main reason why Zelensky won, about half of the population responded that people wanted radical renewal of power. We should remember about it. People elected new power that it is new. What is of interest? It is hard to surprise me, but for me this was a novelty that the Servant of the People series, 50% of Ukrainians watched these series, and I believe this is a lot. And also a 95 quota show also was seen by many people, and half of population watched this series and show, and Zelensky said on the eve of the new year that he will go for presidency, and people saw the president in him, and the rating jumped twice. Also of interest is voting for political parties. One of the motives, not the central one, was the wish to support a leader. Those who supported Servant of the People party, they wanted to support the president in order that he had a powerful party in the parliament. Also, among the main motives was what party supports the candidate. This was also of importance, and what party is represented by the deputy in the majoritarian districts. Half of people voted for the candidate from the party. They voted for in accordance with party lists, and also this was not the main criteria, but they took into account to what party these nominees belonged. Also, people know about the deputies who were elected, those who came to vote for the parties. They voted for some majoritarian candidates, and Bekeshkina voters, they know about majoritarian party 51, opposition platform less, and European solidarity more than 71%. So the majority of people who voted in elections, who voted for parties and voted for majoritarian candidates, they do not know who this majoritarian candidate is. The majority of deputies were not involved in politics, and people have different opinion on this. 35% believe that this is great, that these people were not involved in politics, and this will help to renew the power. And 25% believe that these are unprofessional people, and 26% believe that this can be both positive or negative, whether these people will really gain some qualification. And also, there is a big difference. For example, the voters of those voters who supported the Servant of the People party believe that this is positive, and during the election campaign, they said that television now ends, and only Instagram and social media is important. But this is not the case. The main source of information is still television for 70% of voters. Here we have also clear dependence. The older the voter, the more television is. So elderly people 90% of elderly people use television as the main source of information. And for young people, internet sites are more important, 60%, more than television. But television persists in other age groups. About social media, Facebook was more important than Instagram, 2 times more important. We should base our ideas on proper statistics. About TV channels, the leader was 1+1. People trusted more to this channel. Half of people watched the 7th of the People series. Not only TV and TV channels, people also search for information that correspond their opinion. And if some TV channel provides information or campaign for some candidate and the opinion coincides, then this voter will watch this channel. So the voter selects this channel. So let's speak about 100 days of presidency. So I believe that honeymoon continues. Newly elected president Volodymyr Zelenskyi now is trusted by 70% of citizens. No president in the history of Ukraine had such support. Yushchenko had about 50%. This was the highest rate, and others didn't have it. This is the highest result. Also positive balance among political leaders. These are the members of Zelensky's team. Dmytro Razumkov, 25%. Ogdry Bogdan also is trusted. Other leaders of political forces who entered the Verkhovna Rada, they have trust or they have negative trust. Svetoslav Vikarchuk -25, Yuri Boyko -36, and Tymoshenko's -63, and Poroshenko -72. So this is imbalance, how mistrust overcomes trust. Also, the assessment of the first steps of Volodymyr Zelenskyi. Honeymoon continues. The first steps of the president and his team. 60% of people positively assess his steps, and only 13% positively, and 24% they didn't express their opinion. Also, in the West, he is more assessed more positively, and in other regions, this is less. And also, first steps of the party, the 7th of the People, are assessed positively 86%, and also European solidarity is assessed negatively. About Voice party, there is no good representation to make proper sociological conclusions on this party. So about first priorities of the president, what to expect from the newly elected president. First, to stop war in Donbass, 71%. Increase of social standards and pension, 44%, decrease of tariffs, 31%, to fight corruption and to decrease oligarchs' influence. So these are 5 main priorities for the president, and people expect that the president will resolve these issues. The trust in success, the trust to reforms, 70% believe that reforms will be successful in Ukraine, 44% believe on the whole, and 44% believe that, but they have some doubts, and only 6% of people do not believe in success of reforms. And in 2015, 30% do not believe in reforms, 28 in 2016, and 40% didn't believe in reforms in 2017. So now we see that people have positive attitude, more trust. And also there are high expectations about 5 institutions that are the most important drivers for reforms. So first, President Zelensky, 66%, newly elected parliament 43, and government 35. Before people had hopes, and before they saw that we have the president, the government, the parliament, and they saw that they worked, and international community, international organizations, now people think less about them. About some proposals, about the proposals concerning illustration of previous power. There is no one opinion. 31% believe that everyone should be fired from the previous power. Others believe that only some individual officials should be dismissed, and others believe that if there is a better nominee for the position, then only the previous official should be fired. So many people are against lustration. Even voters of the Servant of the People, they have 50-50. Also about the proposals of e-voting, the majority, 43% support e-voting, 38% do not support it, and 68% of people in Ukraine use electronic means, and 32 do not use it. So citizens are in euphoria. They are sure that everything will be good and reforms will be carried out by the president and the newly elected Verkhovna Rada. Now we give the floor to Mr. Shapovalov, analyst of democratic initiatives. So the survey we presented ended on the 20th of August, so these are really fresh results. Good afternoon, dear guests. So the tradition of assessment of 100 days, it comes from one of 100 days of Napoleon Bonaparte. We cannot make some big steps during the first 100 days, of course, but the practice shows that this brief term is enough in order to carry some important steps for the state or to do something wrong. And there is an opinion that this tradition to assess first 100 days of presidents and prime ministers of the countries, it goes from President Roosevelt when important decisions were made during the first 3 months, and the Great Depression was overcome due to these decisions, and the economy was improved because of this. And for us, it is interesting to know the opinion of the people and also expert opinion from representatives of NGOs, journalists, about success or failure, and to compare opinion of experts and the public, what should be the priorities, and how they should be implemented. And also 50 experts participated in our survey, and we asked them, the first question was about achievements of the president during first 100 days. So it's not a big period of time, but 3 months, 3 first months were really bright. electoral campaign was completed, and the main achievement was the dissolution of the parliament and also new elections, parliamentary elections, and the mono majority in the parliament. This is a unique situation for Ukraine. Second in importance, if we are speaking about success, this is foreign policy. Foreign visits to European nations and also planned meeting with the US president and with Canadian representatives, and this showed that this priority in foreign sector remained, because there were some doubts in the course of campaign, because the president didn't identify a clear opinion about the foreign policy vector, and this was the main success. And also steps were made to regulate the conflict in the east. Also about ceasefire and dealing with hostages, also intensification of Normandy format, and also some steps to relaunch courts reform. And now this is at the level of declarations. We are waiting for real steps. Expert community expects that anti-corruption court will be launched, and also international cooperation of NABU and other decisions in this sector. Also, there are some failures. One of the drawbacks is appointments. Andrei Bogdan as the head of the office of the president, and also people with doubtful reputation in the Servant of People party, and also dismissal of Roman Besmertny from the position of representative of Ukraine and trilateral group against Gribetska from ombudsman in anti-monopoly committee of Ukraine. Also failures in foreign policy. So this is return of Russia to Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe. Whether the president could do something to prevent it. But experts believe that he didn't do enough in this sector. And also there is a trend to rehabilitate the Russian Federation in communication with Europe and the US, and Ukraine doesn't, and the president doesn't do enough in this. And also about the ceasefire in the east, and the steps were not fully efficient. You know that this war cannot be stopped with the magic wand, and we continue to lose people, so the measures were not fully successful. What should be done in foreign and domestic policy? In domestic policy, one of the measures come from electoral campaign. The majority in the parliament, the president should nominate the prime minister to submit the nominations of ministers, and also prosecutor general, the head of the national bank, of other important institutions. So anti-corruption policy, development of economy, and ceasefire and stop of war. And experts believe that these are priorities for the president for the nearest future. Concerning foreign policy, expert community says that the main line, the main direction in foreign policy should be the reinforcement of international sanctions against Russia, to improve relationship with US, EU, our main partners, and more proactive role to revive Normandy process and to continue with European and Euro-Atlantic integration. We understand that we maybe won't be the full-fledged members of these organizations, but we should continue our work in this area. Thank you. So experts provided balanced opinions, but you see that there are different assessments, and the opinion of experts differ from the opinion of population, and activity of Zelensky is assessed higher. It is better than activity of Yanukovych, 3.7, more than the assessment of Yanukovych, and the activity of Poroshenko were assessed at 6.3, so higher than the assessment of Zelensky. So Valerii Pekar, he is a civic activist and a member of different unions. Good afternoon. Once again, I would like to draw your attention to the fact that 63% of population believe that the activity of the president during 100 days, they believe that this activity is positive, and experts provided only 3 points to his activity. So 63% of population and 3+ out of 10 were provided by experts. So it is really interesting to think about those figures. But people, they are always right, and experts are always wrong, as we know. So what happens now? Society, there are different opinions in society. The society is split in 2, actually. Despite we had elections a long time ago and we know about the results, the majority of population continue to live in paradigm of political campaign, and the politicians continue to live in such a paradigm, and people assess the situation differently. I would like to provide assessment. I would like to speak about the opinion of proponents and those who do not support the president. I found such a person. This is not a bot, and he really likes the president, and he carried out the analysis about what the president did. He dissolved the parliament, he nominated some officials, reorganized his office, and represented the new officials, and provided some orders, and submitted some documents to the parliament, held 120 meetings. He met with 77 officials of meetings with officials of different countries, and also fought some corruption, and also spoke with Putin on the phone, and he and the proponent of the president said that he raised the trust of investors, and this improved the rate of hryvnia, and the tariffs on gas decreased, and he provided some money to the military men. Everything was great, and this is an objective attitude to first 100 days of presidency of the proponents of power. They believe that they really achieved something good. Those who do not support the president, what they say, that he dissolved the parliament with violations of constitution, so he made some appointments, some of them failed, he went out of business, but the business remained, he reorganized administration into the office in order to not to allow lustration against Mr. Bogdan. Half of governors are not appointed, and road works were not started in some regions because without governors they cannot start. Also, he argued with some officials, but this is only PR. He submitted 13 draft laws to the parliament, and they should be resubmitted to the new parliament. There were several official visits, and the public saw that some of them were not successful. He provided some people Ukrainian citizenship, and some people, and he also cancelled some obsolete documents in the sphere of business. And there was disengagement in Stanitsa Luganska, but he only carried out disengagement from our side, and that's why he didn't achieve good results. He spoke with Putin, but nothing good came out of it, and he reorganized SAPO. He also improved investment climate, and the hryvnia reinforced, but it was done because of speculative investment, short-term investment, and investment to state bonds, and tariffs on gas. They failed, they decreased, but tariffs will be increased in autumn twice, and this is not good. And also that also transformation of his office, in his office they were not really good, and he didn't give a lot of money to the military men. So supporters and opponents, they speak about the same things, but one of them, they speak positively about these things and others are negatively. He provided 180 promises, 8 were completed, 9 were not completed, fully failed, and about others we do not know about them. First, to have Normandy format, to pay salaries to Mykolaiv plant workers, and what is also important, and about failures to build a bridge in Stanitsa Luganska. I would like to sum up. There is a big polarization in society. The same steps, such as, for example, appointment of Mr. Bogdan. So this appointment is assessed differently by people, and any step may be assessed from both sides. Concentration of power during these first 100 days was successful. He got this majority, and we cannot speak now about achievements. Nothing really important happened during these 100 days. Everything will start tomorrow. If you ask me about 100 days, starting 101st day, things will become interesting. What decisions will be made, what appointments will be made, and how it all will be working. We will see it. We would like to welcome the president and say that people want to have low tariffs, high salaries, and it was promised, but it is really hard to do so, and we would like to wish him success in this difficult task. And together with my colleague, we believe that the majority supports Zelensky. That's why we cannot say about polarization. So there is a majority in society and experts and activists, and they constitute minority. So now we give the floor to Taras Shevchenko, Director of Center of Democracy and the Rule of Law. Thank you. I would like to respond on this word polarization. There are people with opposite opinions, but 70% believe that president did the right step. They believe in success and they see good prospects. This is not polarization. Polarization is 50-50, 40-60, and we had a lot of polarization before. And now we have majority of people who believe that the president makes the right steps, and he was able to get majority in the parliament, and the servant of the People Party got majority, mono-majority, and now we see that this word exists, and the word Tushki now exists. Mono coalition, mono majority. These are neologisms from Ukraine, and this is well practiced when the party wins and gets the majority by its own forces and forms the government and nominates, appoints all the officials. This is a normal European practice, and this may provide opportunity for creation of an authoritarian regime, but it doesn't mean authoritarianism at once. We should not lose the opportunity. Because if we have proper grounds for saying so, we then will be able to do it. Speaking about NGOs, in 100 days, we see that the role of NGOs will be different from those that they had during the previous 5 years. So involvement in creation of laws was phenomenally high, and our foreign partners were surprised that our reanimation package of reforms and other NGOs, they were really active, and they came out of Maidan and they said about the requirements of Maidan, and they submitted some important draft laws. And I spoke with international organizations and I said that we have powerful NGOs because trust is really low to governmental institutions. People did not trust to the governmental institutions. That's why people trusted more to NGO international organizations, and we clearly see in this survey that once the trust of the public shifted to the president and to newly elected parliament, to the new government, the trust to NGOs decreased, and it sharply decreased. NGOs were priority, they were at top positions, and also this can be a correlation, and opinions may differ. Some NGO members became deputies, now they had some committees, but I believe that this is a shift of trust to the president, and we may also say that maybe the civil sector will lose its influence, and it will lose the trust of people. we now cannot say that we are trusted, they trust someone else, and this is a challenge for the sector. We should find our new place and to understand our activity, and we should properly communicate directly, not only with politicians, as we did it. We worked more with deputies, with ministers. We should speak more with the public, with the citizens, about 100 days. I believe that the biggest change is the change in the sentiments of the population. Maybe not many steps happened, especially we had electoral campaign and the government will be formed maybe tomorrow. So the change in sentiments is the biggest indicator that will influence the future. Also changes in the sentiments of investors. I would like to remind you that before the first round of elections, we were afraid of some type of scenario. We were afraid of some mass rallies, some maybe unrecognition of results. This was the worst case scenario of business that would be catastrophic concerning investment. And also expectations about Ukrainian economy, they are positive, not only because hryvnia has the good rate and Ukrainian bonds may be sold. And for this, I believe we have more positive things. People expect stability in economy, and also there should be clear established responsibility. After elections, I said that it is impossible to forecast Zelensky as a president. We could forecast Poroshenko, but not Zelensky. But now in 100 days, we have some clarity. And those people who provided forecast 100 days ago, they said that Ukraine will become parliamentary republic and president will be really weak and he would not be able to do something. But these forecasts failed. We see powerful president, concentration of power in the hands of the president. And also, in 5 years, it may significantly change. He said that he goes for one term, for one presidential term. And in 5 years, potentially, the issue may arise to shift to parliamentary republic, as it happened in neighboring countries, and the forecast that everything will fail and rating will fail in the first days. This forecast failed. And Iryna Erichovna also provided us with trends. I believe that the fall will be less sharp. And we see that the decisions are taken quickly, appointments are quick, and we hope that the reforms will be quick, and we hope that immunity will be removed from the deputies, and this will be positively assessed by the public and will provide the opportunity to preserve high ratings. And the last one. Often people speak about personalities in some processes, in some trends, and the people, they connect some processes to people, and some processes will be quickly connected with the president, with Zelensky. And after the revolution, Valerii said about high expectations, revolutionary assessment, and they are very high, they are much higher than those emotions that people have. And revolutionary cycles, they ended in disillusion, because people who expected from Yushchenko, from Poroshenko, they expected extremely high results, and they didn't get this, they didn't get justice. They thought that some circles of people, they got richer, and the disillusion was really big. Now they have positive expectations, 60-70% of optimists, but this is not the level of optimism that is provided by revolution. That's that's why we won't have this extreme disillusions that are so hard, so sharp, that after revolution they will be much milder. 30 seconds. Monomajority, there is no such term, but we had another term concerning majority in the parliament. And of course, our society is not split in half. It is divided differently. But I've said that some people are proponents or they have negative attitude. We do not have the center who have middle position. So the level of trust didn't fall. I don't think so. People continue to trust NGOs, but new type of paternalism appeared. People before they trusted only NGOs, and now a new object appeared for paternalism sentiments. Now we have a president that people believe that he will do everything good. So we have his party, the servant of the people, and they also will do only good things. So this is positive when power is trusted. And you know that this paternalism has a negative aspect because people, they stop to rely on themselves. They believe their leaders more. And there are some disturbing trends. This time, for the first time, decreased the number of people who provided money for some public activities, for some civic activities, compared with the years after revolution. So this is a new paternalism, and this does not play a positive role, I believe. We don't have time for my speech and for questions from journalists, so I would like to outline some things. So the power is a secret box, black box. We cannot understand how decisions are made. Tomorrow, Parliament will start its work. Tell me, please, who initiates the nomination of the Prime Minister? So this is coalition. And this is the work of coalition. They nominate the Prime Minister, and what happens then? Who forms the government? The Prime Minister forms the government. So there is a formal logic. It cannot happen in several days. To adhere to procedure, in order that it looks nice, there should be a process of consultations. It should show that not everything is in the hands of the president, but de facto it looks like this. So what will happen with the formation of the cabinet of ministers? If it is Olexy Goncharuk, this is a person with positive background, but he does not have experience in administration and management. He didn't even manage a TV show 95th quarter. So the center will go to vice premiers or the ministers who will take concrete decisions. So here, who will present whom, and what about business or political interests behind all this? Markarov, if he remains, this is plus, and if Avakov remains, this will fully contradict to the promises of Zelensky that he made during electoral campaign. So now we will have majority, single-party majority, and this majority exists in many countries of the world. This is not usurpation of power, but there are some disturbing signals. We saw them. We spoke about it, and I would like also to focus on one interesting point. There are two draft laws that were adopted by the Supreme Council, and this is an electoral code, and the second is the law on temporary investigation commissions. And according to Constitution, the president should sign them or return them to the parliament. And then with considerations, the parliament would adopt these considerations or should overcome presidential veto. Nothing happened. Yesterday he signed. And what about temporary investigation commissions? So this remained. Thank you for your comment. So what remains? If we have one-party majority, will it give some space for counterplay? We have such a counterplay, and in 1990, 1991, and during Yanukovych's time, we had that Yanukovych, he controlled all the branches of power. So if opposition won't get vice speaker position, this will be no good. Because in critical moments, vice speaker may play an important role. At the same time, we see that in instances when the power see opposition, powerful opposition of expert community or civil society, veterans, the power goes back. And we saw it during discussions concerning local elections or military march that happened, and also the increase of the number of committees that will be headed by opposition, and also Committee on European Integration remained, and Klim-Pushchin-Sadze will head it. So concerning Donbass, I believe that Zelensky will do right when he makes small possible steps that are really important. For example, disengagement of forces in Stanitsa Luganska, trying to open this bridge and also to simplify procedures to cross the line of contact and to provide opportunity to Ukrainian citizens to bring more products to occupied territories. But here the problem may persist, that now Russia and our Western counterparts, they use the situation that Zelensky speaks about peace. Maybe they will pressure us in some issues concerning political regulation. And now the meeting of Normandy format is announced, and we are interested in position of Ukrainian delegation because we are concerned about elections, possible elections in occupied territory, and possible special status for these regions. So there is such a threat, and we see that foreign team of the president, it is not fully formed. So they have rhetoric about NATO, and we would like to see concrete steps. So we have some time for questions. So 5 minutes. We will give opportunity to press. Please, if you want to ask something, please do. Good afternoon. Ostap Stasyev, I have a question. But first, I would like to comment. You spoke a lot about civil society, and our organization was formed during Maidan, and we see that many people, they see that they have the president, no matter whether he do good or bad. And we see that common Ukrainian, he is just thinking in the flow of information, and we are trying to simplify it and proposed a matrix that would show all decisions online as a scheme. Tell me, please, first, do you have such instruments like this? What instruments may help our citizens to understand the situation? We should create new products or continue the development. So this matrix we have, and what else may simplify the representation of these processes in the online mode in order that our people better understand what is going on. So if no one wants, I will comment. Taras said it correctly. There were big expectations concerning NGOs, and now there are high expectations of state institutions, and I have doubts about the fact that the power will build new institutions. And in Solomon Tales, they say that there is time to throw the stones and the time to collect the stones. And historic mission of Zelensky as a president and people who came to power together with him is to break conservative, obsolete structures of post-Soviet, post-colonial system because they do not work. Good example how they do it. These are parliamentary elections. Many local barons, they just failed to get votes, and new people won because they came under this green umbrella of Zelensky. So now the situation completely changed. Now all the elites are outside the parliament, and it was done by Zelensky and his voters. So state institutions that do not work, they will be ruined. But the threat is that the whole will be below waterline, and there will be a different banner on above Kiev. That's why when new institutions be built at this moment, NGOs, they should support the country and the state, as it happened in spring 2014. So now we have some sort of revolution. This is a part of our continuous revolution. Revolution is not only Maidan. Maidan was only the first phase of revolution. Now this revolution continues. If we look at other revolutions, English and French Revolution, they have the same mechanics. And we are now in the process of development of this revolution. And all big revolutions, they are happening in the same way. And now civil society, they should get prepared to help the state, to support the state. And what happened on the 24th of August, starting 11, this was demonstration how civil society demonstrates its support when some state institutions are not able to do their work. One small comment and a question. Wonderful survey, really fundamental. Ilko Kucheriv institution do it always right. Director of Democratic Initiatives Foundation, Alexei Garan, director of Ilko Kucheriv Democratic Initiatives Foundation. Yes, on the side we are both directors, but if we are all presidents, why can't we be all directors? So I always tremble when I come here because the center for 5 years remains to be a crisis center. So we may dispute, we may argue each point about the percentage. The biggest error of the president during these 100 days was the mistake in nomination, in appointments to appoint Lutkovsky, Motsi, Besmertny, who provides him with this information, who advises him, and about that Bachnik, and now he works in the office of Bogdan. I believe that this is not right. The only good thing, I believe, is that the president worked 100 days without support of the parliament and the government because they were not formed yet. And the question to Mr. Shevchenko, we speak a lot about investment and trust. I believe that when hryvnia falls to 8 per dollar, then there will be stabilization. When we are speaking about investment, what do you mean? Foreign to Ukraine or Ukrainian to foreign nations? Thank you. I don't believe that when the dollar will cost 8 hryvnias, this won't be good. Big fluctuations are not good. About investment, I said about investment into the economy of Ukraine, both domestic and foreign. There should be investment into Ukrainian economy. This will be of use. Thank you. Now we end our press briefing. Tomorrow, the new Verkhovna Rada will start its activity, and we hope that there will be more content, not just forms, not just sensational declarations. We hope to see fruitful work of the parliament, and we remind you that the parliament should discuss and approve decisions. This is not a structure that just follows the orders of the office of the president. Thank you. This will be really interesting.